Thank you all so much for being here with us as part of the Arabic Art Showcase. For those of you who showed up just for an art gallery and didn't know, we are doing a poetry reading right now. There are some spots here on the front if you want to sit, find wherever is comfortable. You could even, there's a loft up top if you'd like to stand up there, have a seat. The stairs are by the entrance. Feel free to make yourself comfortable. We kind of did tickets on the honor system tonight. If you don't have a ticket, that's fine. But if you don't have a ticket and would like to help a nonprofit organization, we would love if you would donate on our website. You can go to arabfilm.us/women and find out more about this program that's happening all weekend. And make a donation, buy a ticket, whatever. But truly, honor system. Thank you to all who did buy a ticket. We really appreciate it. All right, so we're gonna get started, folks in the back, just so you know. This is too low. Thank you all so much for being here again. My name is Yasmina Tawil. I'm the Director of Film Programming at the Arab Film and Media Institute. Thank you. And no, we're not watching a film today, but this is a program that we started doing in 2020 as a pandemic program. It was originally all online, and the idea was to honor generations of Arab women who have excelled in and revolutionized all forms of art beyond our typical film and media. So so we've been doing a whole weekend of movies, music documentaries, live DJing, art. Please check out the art while you're here. Also, please be careful not to touch or ruin anything, as well as poetry, things like that. So that's what's happening this weekend. I don't really know what else to say. We have 4 really wonderful poets tonight. This program was put together with the help of Summer Farah. She's a lovely friend based out on the West Coast, so she's not with us today, but she knows poetry a lot better than I do. So she helped us out. She's also on the board of an organization you may be familiar with called RAWI, or the Radius of Arab American Writers. And they are co-presenting today, and we're so grateful for their partnership and their support and their help. So I think we're gonna get started with our first poet. I'm sorry, someone's gotta go first. All right, so our first poet is Dalia Dandashi. She it is very special to have her meeting because she is not only one of the artists in the gallery here. Sorry, you have to go through the
yeah, that's
this is her work right here. She also is the brainchild behind this curation, this gallery. Oh, you're not the brainchild. It is your brainchild. I'm sorry. Look, it's day 3. The brain is melted. But yes, so everyone give it up for Dalia. Hello. Wow, nervous.
Well, thank you all for coming. There's so many going on, some of you are dumb. It's really exciting. And holy shit, there's so many. So yeah, I'm gonna just read a few poems. I'm going to read a few poems from a zine that I just made with the help of this girl sitting right there. Raise your hand. That's great. And if you scan over there, you can actually read it and see it. So if you have time today, you can go read it. Tell me if you like it. It's also great if you like the designs. But yeah, I'll just read a few poems from it. I don't know them by heart. Oh wow, okay. I'm gonna start. Should I start with something sexy? Okay. Wet dream. It's short, I promise. Okay. Wet dream. In my dream, I was a voracious and tall dahlia flower. The man fingering my petals was a stranger. I knew I needed to be watered from 5 years old. I bet nothing tastes better than the forbidden fruit. What I would like to do is hold you tight because I eat well, and trust me, I don't leave a spot without watering. Some oceans are drinkable. Sure. This is on the same page as it, so I'm just going to read it. It's not sexy. This is when did you arrive? When did you arrive? A lull of stagnant water, and then a hot flash. I walk around to find you in the caves of my mind, but when or how you arrived, I do not know. You begin writing to me in a language I cannot read, but I write back, hotly and electrified, before I take the first bite. With you, the air is no longer bored, and the moon becomes the sun. We're famous. To give context, the zine that I wrote, Passport Control, is kind of a mix of different types of poems, but they all have to do with identity, womanhood, loss, figuring myself out, whatever. And part of that is also understanding just my identity as an Arab woman who lives in, this country by force. But my family is half Syrian and half Lebanese. You're super loud. But yeah, I feel the last time I went to Syria, I was 17, it's a long time ago, and I really miss it, and I think about it a lot. So this is kind of about it. It's called Loser. I am a loser. Not a sore one, but the one who lost everything. I remember the boy they called Volcano, who ran up and down the street, puffing and puffing that he was looking for a wife. On my grandmother's balcony, I howled at the moon, night after night, licking the stars one by one. It's almost as if I knew. I think about Data's secrets, labeled and color-coded between her mattress and bed frame. All the phantoms I used to know in skin now swell the mosque's courtyard. I wonder what they even have left to pray for. Catastrophe, violence, siege, massacre, bomb, blast. We have won these words, but we've lost it all. Okay. This is called Birthday Wishes. It was just, me last year, I became older. And I was sitting on Bleecker Street and thinking, what am I doing here by myself? And I thought, you know what? Actually, this is really nice to just be alone and feel like I'm aging. So this is how. Birthday wishes. On this day, I wish. Okay, hold on. Close your eyes, because I feel like when I read this and I close my eyes, I can see it, so try it. Okay. On this day, I wish to be my mother, to be a mother, to caress the baby, to kiss the homeless man, to learn German, to know what you're listening to. Sir, what's the song? To follow the fighting couple who are still holding hands, to run across Bleecker Street naked, to push the other baby in your stroller, to take the M1 bus to Harlem with the girl who snuck on, to kiss the strangers who are kissing between sips, to eat the ice cream from Grandpa's mouth, to collapse next to the dying pigeon and join him in the next life. Is there even an afterlife? To be the photocopy machine that made this boy resemble his mother so proudly. To be the Q train so I can always be above ground and never feel under the weather. Give me these gifts. They are not much, but they are everything to me. Maybe I'll read one more. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, this is just like musings in my mind. It's called Pet Cemetery. It's a new morning, and the cadavers of men continue to drift on by. Ghosts. I'm positive they have a monthly coffee clutch or book club with an open door policy to ensure bonding. As it turns out, I'm still young and membership stays open until I become a cadaver myself. Remember this, New York City is a country where they can all live forever, even underground. Why else would Greenwood Cemetery be so big? Where else would all our ex-lovers go after the relationship dies and they succumb to death? Where else would they go after their deaths? Okay, I'll read this. Is actually my last one. Well, this is called New York, so it's fitting. Kind of makes you feel depressed. All right. All right, the last one. I just started recording.
Yes.
Okay. All right. New York. I have learned to worship this cat I live with, and the city I have learned to live in, with this weather I have come to hate. Bodega man pretends he doesn't know me in the street, but performs a salam to me in the store. I am not angry with him, I just wonder why. When I bike past the mosque on Fulton, Billie Holiday stops singing Easy Living in my head. My breath is stolen, by tempered winter shock, I am unsure. Either way, I begin a convulsive cry. I cry and cry, because not one person here knows my name. Because boring into my eyes does not mean you'll remember me after I slimy slug my way across the street. I cry, and the cars continue to spit past, and the hot trash continues to take refuge on sticky streets, and the call to prayer continues to untwine, and I continue to swell the waterfront. Cries do not exist in New York. Rather, tears are shared with all the passersby, including a God I pretend is here, but who is not. Because this isn't heaven, it's just Brooklyn. Universe, I remember you. It's just that sometimes the buildings and cigarettes and subway cars and broken umbrellas and dahlias I buy make me forget. They make me forget the dahlia I sleep with, the dahlia I bathe with, the dahlia I pray with, the dahlia I kiss before I dream. The truth is, I come in many blushes, but not one is one I seem to like. I am sometimes capricious and constantly bewildered. And when I ask Bodega Man why everything is the way it is, and why I feel the way that I do, he simply shrugs his shoulders and bites into the sandwich. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dahlia. Thanks for going first. Up next, we have Aida. Where is she? There she is. Give it up.
I didn't realize. I am so excited and honored to be here. I feel like as a PhD student, the one thing, which already is like a horrible entry point, but we're already here. But context is key, so I'm gonna say in advance that I tend to give super intense. I don't know. I've never known.
Keep talking, sorry.
No, actually, interrupting me is great.
Make sure you're okay, talk now.
Hello. Hi.
Can everyone hear?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, perfect. So what I was saying is that I tend to give horrifically long intros. For the sake of context, I swear. But I usually, So for this one, I think in general, a lot of my poems sit at this sort of nexus between my own personal experiences and as sort of extensions to my academic work or to the grievances that I'm trying to articulate in my academic work. So a lot of times there's particular poems that match chapters or articles or things like that I'm working on. So I figured, this is out of Film and Media Institute, I'm going to open with a poem about a movie. A movie that haunts me, I swear to God. It's called Monia, if anybody. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
No one? Thank you. It's the Night of the Counting Years in English, I think is what it's called. Again, it literally haunts me. It is literally about mummies, but that's not what's embodied in the poem. It is a film that I love to hate. But I think that as an Egyptian woman, it wasn't already that giveaway. I'm basically giving stand up before. I'm not a gender studies person, but on paper in my academic work, but being in this body, I tend to study gender. And so a lot of times I exist in a body or in an experience where I am analogized with the nation. So without further ado, I told the poem is 10 lines. So I'm just gonna read this. And a pendulum of morality, endless cornucopia of pots of indigo ochre. You paint the walls of me in your image, a hieroglyphic glitch. I exist beyond time. Oh, how I feed you honey milk, wheat kneaded by palm, sun on sand. I open my doors for you to take ancient relic, wala tradition. I exist before nations, and yet I bleed for its covenant. Excavate me, Habibi, and I will supply the spade. Okay. I feel like after the first minute, I know how to say things. Okay. I actually probably don't, but we'll see. So the next poem that I'm going to share is called Mwashak for the Future.
It's okay.
And Mwashak or Mwashahed is a particular poetic form and also sung form that was kind of popularized or famously associated with Islamic Spain. But kind of continued through Nahda and then thereafter. It's one that I grew up with as early as 1 year old. I knew the lyrics to Mwashahed before I knew how to read and write, which is weird because I'm a diaspora kid. Speaking of diaspora, this poem has a stanza in Arabic, and I am deeply aware, and I'm blessed to say that I do speak and read whatever Arabic, so I know that not everybody who has lived in this diasporic experience, especially in the West, obviously, can speak or understand Arabic in this way. So I'm going to read a translation and then provide explanation for the translation after I finish reading it, so no one feels excluded. So. Okay. Remember me. I will be dressed in pearls, reeking of holy water. Remember that I had a body and that was my first sin. Habibi, you carve hunger into holiness as Aud's belly into song. Ishrab min al-gharam. حتى تتسقي من ناري حتى تذكر قصدي تذكر باسمي. Tell them how I would have spun on my axis for you, a dervish pleading madly for your kiss. So the translation is, drink from my love until you are watered by my fire. Until you drink, I mean remember me by my name. And in Arabic, the word for becoming drunk and remembering is one letter apart, Difkar versus Diskar, a distinction often obfuscated by many spoken dialects. The word dhikr can at once mean to remember and to mention, a word that is often used in reference to the mentioning of the 99 names of God, seemingly a direct juxtaposition to the act of drinking alcohol and sin. This poem follows the tradition of many Moshah songs of the early Andalusian period, though sung and written by Muslims, in which romantic and spiritual love is analogized with the drinking of wine. Okay, I think two more and then I'm like so out here. Okay, so this poem, some of y'all may have actually heard it before last summer. And I'm going to be sharing it again because I realized actually really interestingly, like sometimes, and maybe I'm weird, and also I'm a Pisces. I love it. I love the vibe we've curated here. But I realized very, very recently that this poem sort of almost acted as a premonition. I wrote it seemingly about no one or nothing. I was just writing in Central Park on a random day in May last year. And a lot of what happened in the poem actually ended up materializing so quickly after. And so it's weird realizing that you were writing about something you didn't know yet. But this poem also puts to language the sort of lineage or the history of corruption in Egypt through the lens of food. And I trace that through both the etymological roots, like Arabi obviously has root words. So through that, but also through the vernacular that is very specific to Egypt and to the Egyptian dialect. And I do that all through the idea that feeding someone is one of the most radical expressions of love that there is. One that I've often rioted against as a woman who did not want to be put in that position, but actually I love to cook. We all have our fights, so that was mine. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna read it. Feel like it's enough context.
Yes.
All right. I feed you tonight under candlelight. Wajda, a meal, an obligation, an emancipatory demand. Through your mouth there are 1,000 liberations. Your tongue will language our freedom, I am sure of it. And so I feed you a menu fit for a mamluk, a despot, a so-called socialist soldier in fatigues of silk. And I will love you as our legacy demands of us. To start, Dingen, deviled plant etymologically crazed. I love seeing the corners of your mouth upturned, stained with infinite earthbound spices. In this kitchen, I am free with you. On the stovetop awaits our second dish, kusa kissed with tomatoes. I tell you of how the fruit vendors rapped at the gates of Ottoman Cairo demanding better treatment lest our precious zucchinis wilt. Azizi smiles light onto our table as we fill our mouths with food before language. I tear pieces of bread, I mean life, and spoon taina into your mouth. My economy, orphaned by scorched crops and a pair of hands. For dessert, cornucopia candied by sweet and abundant soil. I destem grapes from ravine and watch you macerate them into wine. I think the most radical thing I have ever done is let you love me. Amen. That wasn't the end of the poem, but like, it's very well, honestly, we kind of decided there is that line. I wrote it and I was like, hooray. Interesting that I said that. Anyways, so I leave the table with my stomach laden with your laugh. We go off into the night, one fist in the air, the other woven into each other. Our love enough to abolish hunger. I forgot how much energy this takes. So this is actually the most recent poem I've written, which like I don't know what to say about it other than the fact that I'm going to end it the same way that I started it, actually very full circle. As an academic, as a PhD student, I wish I had another personality trait, I swear. But you know, as somebody who has a whole life's work, right? Like that's what I do all the time. And as someone who's, you know, I think a unique form that academic love takes is involving yourself or interweaving yourself with someone's research interests. And because it's somebody's life passion, right? We don't do the PhD for the money, or for the fun, or for the department politics, or for anything. So we do it because we love the topic, we love the research that we do. So I found myself reading a very particular branch of the universe. I know way too much about social theory now, Lord help me. So I wrote this poem called Poetics of a Pomegranate after reading, or attempting to read, the song Poetics of Relation. So I'm gonna end and get the heck out of here. This poem is like the most pregnant, most visceral, I suppose, in a way. In this world, our sadness is a shared past. I am fluent in the dialect of you. The language of us cross-cuts the Mediterranean of your silence. My love for you is a border, a fractal mirror through which the knowledge of your becoming awaits. I leave the curvature of your body untranslated, indigenous and holy. The poetics of our intimacy untouched by the ravages of time itself, which is a quote from Foucault, by the way. Horrific. There are many worlds stretched out around us, and in this one, I get to kiss you. The most abject rejection of liminality, I touch you, and I'm still a whole body. What I mean is, in this world, loving you becomes my ontology. I watch you wash the tops of trees, and you remember to kiss the right side of my neck. There is something incredibly mundane about loving you. Through the seasons, the creaking floorboards, the sunspots, rapidly conquering the arid land of your shoulders. With you, borders become consumed. I am your exiled nomad, your clavicles, my pilgrimage, your spirit, a river bend upon which I perform ablution. I love you. To me, it is simple. I underline paragraphs with your questions in mind.
Thank you, and that was beautiful. You did great. Up next, really, you're the same name as my mom, and I've spent 30 years struggling to pronounce it. So please, not all of us diaspora babies get so lucky as to be able to speak Arabic. So up next we have. Yeah, now I'm freaking myself. No, I'll send you a video. Yeah, see, but anyways, thank you. Jawhari.
I really want a picture of you because this is a perfect vantage point to get all of you, and I will share this with Eric from the media if you want it. But okay, and I'm gonna do this side and I'm gonna do this side because they're separate. So just give me like your sexiest, like make sure you can see your side. It's like oh, is that okay? Right here. Oh my God. 1, 2, 3. Good, and then one more. Amazing. I'm gonna go outside. Okay, I know you're probably all tired, so I will take too much time. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you to Yasmina and Summer Farah as well, and everyone who's a part of this. Give them a round of applause. It's a lot of work. It's really amazing. There's more events that are coming up, so definitely go. I wrote this book during COVID. You should probably read it.
It's so good.
I paid them. It's called BINT. It's about like Arab American womanhood, and I'm gonna read a little bit from it in honor. Obviously, this April is Arab American Heritage Month, and it's also Poetry Month. Yeah, it's amazing. We have months. Really nice to be recognized in another way. So I'm going to read a little bit from it, and I'm also going to read from a new project I'm looking forward to seeing. So yeah, we'll do that. So I'm going to do this. Here we go. This is, I don't have any copies, so if you want it, it's available through the publisher Radix Media. And my Instagram is bb_anouj, so you can definitely find me and request it there. I will give you a PDF for free because I don't care anymore. And I will read this first one about being Arab after September 11th, which really defines a lot of our Arabness, particularly if you're a Gen Z or like a millennial. So this is tazahur. Tazahur in Arabic means pretend, so it's to pretend about like the life that we want. What a doll I was those years after the towers fell. I went blonde as one goes insane, womaned with a new name, an easy oleo for the tongues that tisked me. Gone were the guttural consonants, the hairs connecting my brows. I starved my hips. I wore English like a ring until men begged my father for my hand. I detached my hand and gave it to him, a fishing lure. A prophet arrived to open the leaves of me, his cat tongue barbed for bone. We pilgrimaged after the fete as if we had land to return to. We spoke of the city as our parents knew it. Beirut's 60s, glistening bodies destined for martyrdom, radio static, glass bottles of Pepsi. We only uttered words we knew, sang only songs we remembered, and every day I used the wrong type of rice. We decorated our home in tourist flags. A blue eye hung over our door, reflecting the eyes of the street. I'm debating now if I should read more from this or I don't know about like time and dates and places. Like I don't. What's the time limit? I don't know. I'm really bad, but I'm trying to be better. Okay, so I I wrote something queer. I think I should read that because I'm gay. So like I'm this identity politics right now. So this is shahwa, and Arabic shahwa is like to have an appetite or desire for something, but maybe not eat the whole thing and try it. And the straight girl's like, yeah. So this was shahwa. Sorry. Shahwa. Girl, call all this shahwa again with your namesake mouth. I will release my grudge like a weakened fist. Say it's practice for your groom, or dispel the boredom of our afternoons, or drink until the protest sleeps. Crush the apple against your teeth. The froth hangs semi-lunar from your chin, tart and fleeting as the unready. Barefoot on the balcony, drop your pail to the vendor who cries the names of his harvest like the muezzin. Buy your grandmother burlaps of cystic turnips to pickle. They blush pink in the jars you twirl, knocking in their aquatic gravity. Winter will arrive with its usual cravings, vinegar of the unseasonable held past its prime. Salt thick and rubber as muscle. Your palate succumbs to pleasure-crusted pricks. Your tongue will soar, unfold in its red canopy bed. Eat until you are full, and then sob, salvage. Appetite is an eye that does not stop itching, inviting again your curled hand. Thank you guys. I printed something out which is crazy, but I finally got a printer and I'm really proud of it. Thank you. It's crazy. So I'm writing a novel and I submitted like some of this to Ghinwa and I got accepted. So I was really Thank you. It's really nice having something in public. I don't know what's gonna happen. But I'm going, I guess, and I wanted to read part of this. So this hopefully will be the beginning. Never before seen. To give you just a little bit of context, it's a coming of age novel, and the narrator is a 14-year-old girl. There's a law in Lebanon, as well as most Arab countries, I believe, where the dad in a divorce just takes the kids. So it doesn't matter what age. In some places, there's an age limit, but that's according to your sect or your religion. So, but once the dad decides that's it, they go with the dad, and even if the mom has been the only one raising them. And it's my aunt is a lawyer, and she's been trying to a lot of lawyers have been trying to repeal this law, and it's just not happening because we live in a patriarchal society, there and here and everywhere. So yeah, it's about this law. So the dad, moves with the kid, with the girl, with his new family essentially, and now she's in America. So just to give you context, the main character is speaking here. Oh, I can't see. Maybe. Am I still wearing my glasses? Is that why everything's pink? All right, here we go. My mother was supposed to be a son. This we have in common. Either be a boy or not be at all. Remain in the primordial ether, waiting for another family, another time, or elsewhere. I think, had we never been born, my mother and I would have been friends, would have recognized our spirits in that unphysical space, in the formless nothing before birth, and before we were born to be nothing. We would have no resentment for each other yet, no competition, no shame, no struggle for autonomy or its counter, the struggle for control, these struggles that men would have taught us. We would have no faith, no Hamans, no body hair, no Arid and no Harim. She would not lock the door for fear of men entering, nor would I seek exit. There would be no doors, no barriers to want, no body or threshold to violate, and no violation. I imagine at times maybe I could nestle in my form into her form, spirit to spirit, almost fitting within her except for the parts that are not her, the pieces of me my father's genes would have already marred, but she would feel and know me and say, "You are just like me," with pride. Something she may have never said had I been born and she could see me. And I would say, "You are just like me," something I would strive for on earth for years until I realized it could never be, because I stepped out of her door into an American school where children were not called mama lovingly by their mama, that reflection fractured wholly to become, quote, one's own person. This is a fantasy. We were obviously born, became breasts and thighs and hair, clustered like moats around our father, became binta, wardu harim, bint halal, bint haram. But I find I go to this unphysical nothing when I sleep, detached from the body that I inherited from her body, after murmuring the prayer I learned from her prayer, after washing my hair the way she taught me, so that it arranges itself into damp florets by the morning, because Allah bihabb al-jamal. On earth, before sleep, the day's work is spent on jamal, the eradication of body from body, plucking, dieting, slimming, uncoloring, the emphasis of body on body, darkening with kuhl, outlining lips, tiptoeing in a heel, tailoring for a waist. The day is spent getting ready for the day and its eyes. The night is spent undoing the readiness. How many mornings did I watch her lip leave its mark on her cup, rimmed eyes scanning the newspaper she held with a perfect manicured hand, ring glinting in the sun. How often each afternoon did she visit the mirror to reapply, adjust, redo, readjust, retouch, always the slight frown I recognized, the same she gave me when I was not made up for school or a visitor, as if her mirror and I were the same. In the nothing, I could confess to her that the parts I found most stunning and loved more than anything on earth were the parts she did not prepare, the parts she was born with, and the parts no one taught her to do or warned her against. Anyone else would have missed these, but not me because I am from her and know her in the before and in the nothing. The parts like her handwriting on the shopping list meant for her understanding alone. Swift, the T's crossed like birds at the cusp of flight. The thumbnail she always bites when she drives, the first to lose its paint, how it holds her mouth open as if she's found a seed, how she sits to pick lugia or pour kusa on the couch, her knees wide apart, her startled laugh in front of the television without company, uncovered by her hands, unexpecting of its own mirth. I see those parts exist in the nothing in sleep before bodies and could recognize and remember them even if we had never been born. There is a night I wake up gasping, mother, calling out to her, help me. I keep waking up in my same body. Maybe she runs into the room to pray away what she will call a nightmare, teb'a, an evil thing. Or maybe I am already an ocean away and years older when this happens, anticipating in earnest the deeper sleep to come, and asking what is the after death but before birth, and what is birth? Birth into a body on man's earth, but a death of another kind.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you. We have one more reader, Kamelya
Omayma. Thank you everybody for being here. I'm very grateful. I didn't expect to get back. Oh, I've been back home for so long. Let's go. Okay, that means I'm gonna do survey. I'm from Dearborn. I feel like everybody's been.
Who's from Dearborn?
Oh, Michigan.
You're from Michigan, you're from Dearborn.
Hi, oh, yay, I love you guys. Nice to be here. I haven't met most of you, which is so fun. I'll look for the areas I don't know, because I'm like, all right, guys, you got work to do. Let's go. So what I'm gonna do is read for you guys from my book, which I don't have copies of right now because they're through my publisher. But you can get them on. You can get my book on Instagram by following me. And it's just like linked there, and it's like the laziest. I just haven't been in a condition. I'm trying to New York better. You guys all trying to New York better? Right? Yeah. So that's the thing. We're trying to survive out here. And so I have it. I'm like, my book just came out, so I'm trying to like accompany her in the world. So like, I'm doing the best that I can, baby. And so, which is also to say, I'll tell you guys later. I'm doing a workshop with my friend and also at Wendy's Subway. If anybody wants to, y'all have anybody journal?
Yeah.
You guys journal? Okay, so we do a workshop where we bring our journals, but we don't have to show each other. Okay. And then more. And then we get to make pretty things out of it. So I got you. If you're interested. I'm just gonna, so what I do, this book is called The Book with a Hole in It, and the problem is that it comes out of a fucked up story that happened in my family. How many of you guys have fucked, this is a survey. How many of you guys have fucked up stories that happened in my family? Multiple fucked up stories that happened in my family. Okay, so what do you do? About the fucked up stories that happened in our family. Make them into movies, all right? So we got that. So somebody once told me that she's like, as a professor, she's like, oh, I like your story. I've been talking for 5 minutes. She's like, oh, wait, you should option your story into a movie. And I was like, no, actually, I'm gonna turn it into poetry so nobody can understand it. So what I do every time I read this book is I remix it for my audience. So I'm gonna say, this in every place has a hole in which they are buried, in which we bury them, alive, and their stories enter no bedtime moment between a parent and child, a hole in which the parent is buried, a hole in which the child is buried, a hole in which the I is buried beneath all the selves it is supposed to be, a hole in which possibility lives, possible enough to have existed, a candle brief enough to burn, a sapling old enough to cast a shadow, and when it is chopped or uprooted, it will have lived and shaped a clearing in the forest wide enough to mark its absence. Let's talk about the Arab problem. The title of a brochure distributed by the mayor's office in Dearborn, Michigan, 1985. I drank last night. I had to tell myself to enjoy and not be afraid of dying, and then I enjoyed it. Someone from Dearborn got shot in the head like a bill, his body at the side of the field. Everyone accepted it because that's how normal death actually is. Death is finally real. I am more afraid of the death of others than the death of myself. I am not immune to sentimentality. I am an architect of buildings not inhabited. It takes me a while to build a perspective. An unbearable guilt. Escape it. Being a man. A child who had power and privilege he did nothing to earn. The honor, the weight, the family made. She probably looked at him and understood. She probably forgave him in advance. She probably. Preemptive forgiveness. That bottomless well of love Bubba tells me about. She was probably weak, fell in love, felt love was holy, a strike of divine. She probably thought of all the ways to abort the baby. Names she wanted to name the baby. Which sisters or cousins she could confide in. Tell her mother, that day too, for the women in my family, without justice or understanding or change, the men suffer in silence, the shame that cloaks our voices, silence that lives in and among people's happy. Before they were farmers, my mama got married to escape war, but not poverty. There is a global whiteness to talk about here. If my family had stayed, a place where I would be whiter than the Filipino, Bengali, Nigerian, Ethiopian, Egyptian, Syrian domestic workers. I would not be as white as the rich Christian women of Lebanon, but I'd be just as white as my diamond trading Muslim cousin. There is a context. It is causing. Mostly my own frustration with invisibility. I have felt isolated, alone, targeted, fired by white people, shamed by them, pushed to assimilate culturally by them, talked down to by them. Maybe it's not me. Maybe it's just white culture. I've never lost myself in whiteness. I keep coming back. I watched the sunlight fall through the window. There was a steeple of light on the floor. For time, really.
Just read it.
I cannot trust my instinct to love. With others, I get lost. Sunday evening, Monday morning, night, all day Tuesday, and Wednesday morning with a man. Naked or partly clothed. I felt powerful. Not raised on the same bed, me and him, we were not. He listens to Joe Rogan. I am worried. That kind of man. Masculinity is a dangerous place. All the guns and unchecked insecurity everywhere. The gaslight fires, the red herring, checking IDs at checkpoints. Is my desperation making me amorous? In his absence, I oscillate. A swelling love, a fist for a heart, a float for a walk, always a breath ahead of myself. That and the pit of being abandoned. Touch going stale. Yesterday, our lives in the communities. The amlos, the surveillance, the gossip, the policing. Queerness never being an option. Men totally entitled. Women accustomed to the lack. Expecting the lack. Our misogyny over white misogyny. My life has already been my life. Self-portrait as Eve. That apple taste. That haram gift. The cliff of your hungry lip. What I may say induces the shame upon my whole family. Do not, an American girl. Do not, all at once. Do not what you want. Do not want. I had been withholding my own pleasure. Pleasure only from his pleasure. The debased woman and the mother-sister figure. I have not been getting fucked. Me insecure and asylum, and I, released for the first time in weeks. I missed my body, pleasure, clarity, taught they need sex, release they need anytime, pleasure. I see how they see bodies, as objects, means to an end, sex. Body is also baby, love, exasperation. Almost there. How I always am salved, saved, my Lebanon for whom my love is always unrequited. I will always love my country more than me. This escape route, sadness it is also, but all this longing, what it has to say, how to peacefully exit the room, calm, it's busy, restless. I, please eat. I'm gonna read you guys a quick one in Arabic. أنا لازم بطل ضحي بحالي كإنسانة كإنسان ويلي بيعملوا غلط بالمجتمع هيك مش غلط هو المجتمع اللي غلطان هل أنا الوحيدة اللي عم حاول بضميري موجود منطق التسامح الحق السلام الشيء الناقص يدافع عنهم Ramadan. I am thinking, my body and desires, my want of a cigarette, or Dunkin' Donuts, water, coffee, a bit of weed. I will not eat. I want this Ramadan to wake at dawn, the Quran of the poets, the dew of my mind, live this life, this body, a prayer, a supplication, not an asking, but a saying, with love I am free. They, the moments, beautiful amidst its rampant, I woke up, the emptiness that wakes up with me, a butterfly appeared, maple tree, the blossoming, garlands, dangling earrings, they, heavier with each day of spring. I'm just going to say this because I think maybe we need to hear it. Dearborn married Olympics. The despair of that feeling to access it, the surreal, then so is, the logic of my fears, women are laid, available to them, wives given as a deserved gift, we are prepared for marriage, abound, abundant supply of girls to feast on. Pick your cuisine, your country, pick your body, pick your sweetness, pick your tonic, pick your lady, pick your wife. The superstructure of the industry of Arab marriage, contracts across borders and tribes, a surveillance structure to conduct preemptive policing inscribed upon the body since birth. What's new? I was angry, I am remembering, I was silenced, I would mark my body indelibly, someone else, anyone else, I knew, creating the wound in me, creates the wound in them too. Their disposal is not permanent. They can always come back. Their bodies are not marked, unless my disposal is permanent. It is death or social. My body has been marked since birth. My grandfather gave out money when he thought I was a boy. He took it back when I was a girl. My body has been marked, so I marked it myself. And what will they do with me now?
Thank you so much to all of our poets. Can we do one more round of applause? And thank you again to all of you, of course, and thank you for the great use of Arab American writers. If you'd like to stick around, the gallery will be open until 11 tonight. We'll move the chairs out of the way, see some art, have some snacks, have some drinks, and listen to some tunes spun by DJ Cake. So we hope you'll stick around. We'll be open tomorrow night as well if you want one more chance to see the art, and we'll be doing a short film screening at 7. And then that's it for the showcase. So we hope to see you there.